Welcome to the Holeinthewall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Wall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Giddy up, Bill. Adventure time.
Yeah, no, it is. 1,000 degrees, 1,000% humidity. Welcome to Florida in August.
Welcome to Florida in August.
Yeah. Hey, got one of our best buddies on the show today. I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking just the other day. I'm like going, Trish has not been on the show like as a guest.
It's been a while.
She's been on Off the Wall. She's interviewed us. She's part of the our orbit, and she's here in our office with us. But I mean, she's not been on. And the last time that Trish Murphy of Marketing Smarty Pants was on was months, like almost a year ago, to do your own show. And so much has changed in her company and our company and how we work together. So I thought it'd be a great idea to bring back Trish Murphy. Let me say that again. Trish Murphy, the chief troublemaker of Marketing Smarty Pants. Welcome, Trish.
Welcome.
I always love the crowd.
Yeah. Friend of the show and friend of the company.
Absolutely. Right. She's been our outsourced CMO here for 7+ years, maybe 8, going on 8 years.
Yeah, she's really done a lot to build our brand.
Yeah. So as we grow, she grows. I like to tell all of our new franchisees coming in that, she's a female-run business.
She is that.
She's a veteran-run business, very active in the community. She's now a mom of a Marine. So lots of exciting things happening in her life. She's about to be a grandma soon.
I know, any day.
We're literally on phone watch. If her phone goes off.
We're watching the weather. We were just talking about if the barometric pressure drops, we think so does the baby, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping.
There's a chance by the time this podcast drops, she'll be a grandmother.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. Though recently we were having a conversation with Trish, and the question came up, well, what exactly do you do? Because I mean, you just kind of came in working like on one piece of what we were doing, and then the next thing I know, James would say, "Well, Trish can do that." I go, "She can do that? Yeah, she can do that bit too." So the conversation we were having recently was, "What all do you do?
Right?
What do you actually call yourself?"
Yeah, it's a good question. We arrived with that we're really in the marketing management business, right? And it sounds like a super simple thing to say. And I would not have put it that way 3-4 years ago, right? It's a reflection of us going through our own process of what is it that we really do? What can we do for people? How do we make that happen? And then, growing our own skill set as well, right? So fortunately, Holeinthewall has been one of the companies who's allowed us to kind of do whatever we wanted. Meaning, right, because our objective is always how do we get dollars in the door, eyeballs, leads, right? That's so we wake up every day going, how do we do that better? How do we refine our message? What matters to your customers? What are they really saying? Right. And then helping you as a company craft your messaging, but also, that feedback loop goes into how do you train your staff better? Right. What's that training process looks like? We've had those conversations with franchisees when we talk about what this brand is, right? We have a whole half-day training with franchisees when they come into town, and we really help them understand who we are as a brand. What's that translate into, right? You're the perfect house guest. When you show up, you're not repairing their wall. You're a house guest, right? How do you behave as a house guest?
Yeah.
And that resonates, with them to really understand that at the fundamental level. So
in the pre-show, we kind of went through talking since this marketing management concept came up, and Trish said she didn't even realize that's what she was. And then we actually got our sword out and anointed her marketing management.
Well, I mean, you think back, back when we were in the old office, Trish would come by, I don't know, once a month or so.
Yep.
And of course, we met you through our BNI meeting, and I heard you in passing one day say, I would like to get my hands on that brand. So we literally tried you to do nothing but social media, because at that point I was kind of running all the marketing myself. I had people I was touching, and I counted that I was literally touching between promo items, between apparel. I had multiple SEO people. I have web designers. I had social media. So I had all these different things that I was touching. There's over 14 different touch points that I was doing just for the Holeinthewall marketing. And I knew that wouldn't be sustainable. And I knew that I could do part of it, but I wouldn't be the expert at it.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we just hired you for almost nothing to just start doing social media posts, help us develop content. And it quickly turned into, no, that's
over time, we just kind of kept discovering
that's not
the
enough.
next thing she could do and was willing to do. That was the sneaky bit. We're like, hey, Trish, would you? No, I could do that. She's always willing to jump in and try.
Well, and if it's something that she doesn't necessarily have a ton of experience at, she'll go learn it. Right. So being able, as we evolve from Holeinthewall as a mom and pop little drywall shop into this now nationwide franchising, I mean, we got franchises like on the West Coast and the East Coast. I mean, we're
Southeast. We're everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, and
even in the Northeast now.
Exactly.
Right.
And we're growing. Some of those challenges we had to overcome.
Yeah.
And we were able to overcome them because we had Trish as a partner.
Mm-hmm. We wouldn't have done it without her. That's for sure.
Thanks.
So we compiled a list of about 7 or 8 activities because I said to Trish, I realized she came in just doing social media for us. And then suddenly I realized she's doing lots of other stuff, and some of the stuff, I don't even know what it's called.
Right.
So we made a quick list in pre-show today, like, what are all the things you do, Trish? So I'd like to kind of work through them.
Sure. Let's do it.
And just tell me what that means and exactly what you're doing with that. And I think kind of the first thing that popped into your mind, which is I gather is kind of the overarching thing you do, is strategic development.
Yeah. Strategic development or strategy development, right? We work with the clients to understand, what is their overall strategy? What are you trying to accomplish in your overall marketing and business? And, where are we going? Right. So your objective, I'll use you guys as a guinea pig, right? You wanted to franchise, right? That was, or expand, right? We've been through that whole process, right? Is it corporate model? Is it a franchise model? Are you locked on the franchise model? So we understood that, right? That's where we're going. Maybe there's another business that's like, hey, I just want to grow this and sell this. Maybe there's another business that's like, no, I want to keep it. I want to stay this small. And our objective is to increase our value, right? Increase our per client ticket, right? Per customer. So maybe they're not looking for a volume of clients, but they're looking to bring, a higher luxury value, right?
Quality.
Right. So those two strategies are very different, right? Maybe it's volume of clients, maybe it's price wise. You want to be able to charge the highest price for what you do because you're worth it, right? So two very different strategies. So we have those conversations, and then we take a look at, your core elements in your marketing, right? What your messaging look like, what your branding look like. Does all of that align with what we're trying to accomplish? Is there any of those things that need to be polished up, worked on? And once those are done, then we're like, okay, foundational elements are in place. Who's our target market? What are we looking at, right? Then we take a look at who's your people, what do they really want, right? That can take some time to figure out. And then we also have the conversation of like, hey, what's that loop look like? Is there some sort of feedback loop between your brand and your client? It can be super rudimental, very analog if necessary, just an exit interview, if possible, a survey. One of the very simple ways that Holeinthewall does it is their Google reviews. You get 3-4 a week. That's an excellent feedback loop, right? I also have the advantage of having conversations with Mike, your general manager. So I can have the conversation about complaints. What's your top complaint? Or what's your top objective in regards to sales, right? Or is it price? Is it scheduling? Are your folks, would they say yes quicker if you could get them on the books quicker? If that's the case, maybe there's another offering. There's an offering we like to do. You guys an example, same week, same week appointments, right? And we talk through what that looks like. It's not for everybody, but if it's maybe it's a client that wants, a full room redone. That's a different.
Right.
We can qualify that, right? So we talk through those objectives, what your clients really want, what's that loop look like, right? So we talk about that, and then we figure out the actual plan, right? What's your social media look like? What are we doing there, right? Do you have email campaigns? And it's all through this whole customer journey. We take a look at the customer journey. What's that look like? From the know, like, trust to the buy, or to the try, buy, refer, repeat, right? What's that look like? And do you have something in place for each one of those? What's your messaging? What's your offering? What's your call to action, right? And then we take a look at, is advertising in your budget, is it really effective? Is it going to be effective for you, right? Some industries, Google Ads, small businesses just don't have the budget for that, right? For example,
Right.
if you're a real estate agent, do not put money. I mean, that's not, right. You're just the competition you're competing against, billion-dollar corporations. It's just not going to work. So what's the strategy at that point? What's that look like, right?
Can we passed over it a little bit, but I think what's really crucial about what we ended up doing, we came in with a good logo and we came in with a good foundation for a brand. But when we started franchising, we realized that it wasn't just about that intellectual property, the logo, it was trademarked, but you really worked with us to develop what the brand is. We always talk about everyone's got a brand. Whether you know it or not, you have a brand.
Right.
What does that look like? What is the consistency from your email signature to your letterheads, to your business cards, to your websites, to your social media, right? So having that consistency, we've had franchisees over the years, try some of the things on their own, and it wasn't in the brands, right? It wasn't meeting our standards.
Right.
So, but that's great to say, but what are our standards? So we had to figure out what are the do's and don'ts.
Right.
What's our color scheme? What's our font, and what are the sizes, and when do we use them? You know?
Right.
So you helped us develop kind of all of that. So so a Big Mac's a Big Mac, no matter where you look at us, you see us through that same lens of Holeinthewall. And then we now have the ability to keep track of and hold accountable to franchisees and make sure that they're not doing something that's off brand.
Right. And the advantage of that is, we were talking earlier, is Holeinthewall. You said we look bigger than we actually are. Well, that's because we've been very consistent in your brand, right? We've been, prudent about making sure things are reflected the same way, because what that instantly communicates to your customers when you maintain your brand look, feel, is this is a professional business and they know what they're doing. I mean, I've lost track of the number of people who thought that you were already a franchise years ago before you franchised, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason for that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And kind of dragging us down that road sometimes is difficult. Even as far as I didn't realize we needed a brand tone guide. We literally have a tone guide. How do we want to sound on paper? Right.
And I'll note, hey, I didn't lead with that with you guys, right? We got to that stage where that was necessary once we were franchising. And so here was the difference when it was important for us to put that in writing. When we were hiring other folks to develop marketing content for you guys, right? We brought in additional designers, or we had other franchise companies come and help with the growth aspect of it, right? Or we had franchisees who were hiring other marketing companies to help them with their marketing. Okay, now let's get this in writing. This is what we want. This is what it needs to look like. It does a couple things. It gives them some direction, right? Because we're assuming every marketing company is going to be concerned about your brand. They absolutely should be, right? So it does that. And then it also gives us a little bit of a leg to stand on when we're being cranky, right? We're like, well, if we say no to something, well, there's a reason. Look in the book, right? We don't do our logo against black backgrounds digitally,
right?
So don't.
Yeah, we don't change the colors. We don't.
Right. Yeah. All of those things.
Yeah, all the do's and don'ts are important.
Right.
And we had to develop that prior to going into franchising, because you can't not. If not, you're in jeopardy of really diminishing the brand.
Right. So I want to make sure people understand we did that because of the need, right? If we stayed small in-house and it was the only guy and, we just, we were Orlando only, I don't think there was a need for that, right? But because we were bringing this, we were growing. It was bigger. There were more hands in the pot, which was great, right? So the word here is growth. As you're growing, more of these foundational elements are important to establish.
Can you speak to kind of brand development as something that isn't one and done, as more? It's my observation is it's more of an ongoing kind of an enterprise.
So branding in small business is a refinement, right? So it's rarely a destination. Your basics will stay the same, but you will find ways to continue to flesh out that personality, right? Because if you think of your brand as its own separate entity, its own person, right? It's not Bill, it's not James, it's not Trish. It is its own person. How would it behave in new situations? What would it look like? What would that expression be, right? So your brand on your website has a little bit different personality or it has a less dynamic personality on your website than it does on social media, right? Because on its website, it's the professional front to your customers. On social media, it's just a friend. I mean, at a cookout, right? At a social gathering, what would that brand, that person, how would it behave? Would it go up to everybody and always talk about, hey, you want me to do your drywall? It's $175. Call me today. If that's all you talked about, nobody wants to have a conversation with that guy at the barbecue. We're not going to be your friend.
Right.
So in connection with brand development, our third thing that you mentioned that you do a lot of is graphics. Now, do you do that personally, or is that something that you oversee that, you're managing that?
I largely oversee it. I can pump out a basic one here and there, right? But my position in the company, it's not worth my time. It's not a wise decision for me to spend 2-3 hours on a piece of graphic when, my per hour, value is much higher than that. So
yeah, but let's talk about what a graphic is, right? So,
Sure.
it could be, how many clients come to you with no logo, or they need to redesign their logo?
Oh, quite a few.
Yeah. So,
Yeah,
so
we
you
see
help
that a
them go
lot.
through that entire process too, right?
Yeah. We help them understand what does that really want, right? And so when we do a brand development or, logo for somebody, we have an entire discovery process, right? And we ask some very difficult questions, right? Because very much like in life, as you grow up and you're trying to find yourself, every business goes through that same process. So I'm basically asking them, who are you really? And that's a very difficult question, especially if it's a new business. You don't really know. You're still trying to figure it out, right?
So then logo design is one part of the graphics. And then the other part of graphics is like ad design. It's
right. Those additional, marketing elements that are out there, you're pushing out through your channels, right?
Yeah.
So it's for ads, it's for social media. It can be, your social
vehicle
media covers,
wraps
your
and
vehicle,
things, yeah.
those types of things. I don't design, business cards, any type of, for you guys, we do door hangers. Like, what's that look like, right?
Yep.
And it was more than the look. We spent 2 weeks on messaging for a whole new, door hanger, right? Because we had to think through what's that look like? What do we want it to do?
And
How
what do we hope
track?
to accomplish with it?
Exactly. What's the value in the customer? What's the value for you?
how do we track the ROI on that one door
Right.
hanger?
The mechanics. Do we even have the mechanics in place to do that? Right.
Yeah.
So, it was so much easier to just, throw a door hanger, which is fine. If that's all you have, throw it down in there, get a unique number, right? If you don't have the technology to support a complex system, make it simple, right? Always start simple.
Yeah.
So as a marketing manager, item number 4,
Yes.
and you self-admitted this is your favorite, this is what you like to do the best, is messaging and content creation. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, messaging and content creation. So messaging really is like your core messaging, right? Whether it's developing one-liners, whether it's creating a list of bullet points that support, your value, what makes you different. I've done this with Holeinthewall. We've probably got like 20 to 30 bullet points that we go back to, right? And we utilize those. And it's not about what does Holeinthewall do? It is what does the customer get out of it, right? It's the love your walls. Again, we don't, we're not repairing walls or making happy homeowners, right? Those types of things. And so it's that all the way to, social media content, those captions, we're working on an email campaign for you guys, right? Those types of things. I've got other clients, all we do is their email campaigns. That's the type of messaging, that we're talking about.
So I'm curious though, as the marketing manager, is that something that you invest a lot of your own time in, or is this something that you're overseeing as well? Or is it kind of a combination?
Both, right? I have folks who can do it, but we certainly establish that, right? And if we have a client that maybe they have a writer that they want to use, I can have that meeting with the client. We can decide like, what do we need this messaging to do? Right? Based on our strategy we've already, and then what is our plan? What's our objective? And then I can have that conversation with the writer. Often that writer is going to ask questions of that business owner and they're really not going to have the answer, but I have the answer. I know how to answer that question because I was smart enough to ask that question and dig it out of them in the first place. Right. So we do really well working with other marketers, specialized marketers.
Yeah.
The next thing that we mentioned on our list is web design. Talk a little bit about web design.
Right. So we help each one of our businesses or our clients. We always, even if they're just a lead, we take a look at their website, right? What's that look like? What's your objective? Are you a tiny business and you need just a nice, well-developed or well-designed website with good messaging that resonates and is clear and resonates to your customer, one that you can manage yourself. We build those on Wix. I know some people are going to cringe. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care what you think. We diagnose that. I'm not going to sell a baby company, a $5,000-$10,000 WordPress site if, they're babies and they can never, update it themselves. They'll get there.
A nice website is attainable though, doing that.
100%. Absolutely. And then I've got other clients where I'm like, you absolutely need this WordPress, even if you are a tiny business, because that's the way you're going to grow. Like if it's e-commerce or, something like that, there are times where I tell the tiny business, no, you have to invest in this right now. Absolutely.
Yeah. But you'll help manage that entire product. I know for us, whenever we add something to our website, I just run all that through you.
Right. We wrote all of your when we did the redesign, a year and a half, 2 years ago, that was scary. Right. So we rewrote the whole content, and again, that growth is the key word here. You were growing. So it was time to get prepared for that growth. What did it look like? The language needed to change because it was all about Orlando, what you did here, that type of stuff. Right. So it was a scary change because we knew that once we made that change, your local or your SEO ranking, your organic ranking was going to take a hit for a while. Right. Yeah. And I remember we were nervous for a while. Yeah. So we had to put some things in place to compensate for that. Right now we're ranking for keywords you didn't rank for before.
Yeah. We're right up there.
But it was a struggle because everything here was Orlando based.
Right.
So our website was Orlando. We had different locations, but now it's like, well, we can't have Orlando based information.
Right.
Orlando-based information has to be in the Orlando page,
right?
Which is on our website.
So we optimize that page, and now each location page gets optimized for that location.
Yeah, there's no cookie cutter.
Yeah,
but even though you don't design or maintain that page yourself, you still coordinate all of the.
Absolutely, we work with web developers. We can it's way more effective, and these specialized niche marketing technicians is what I want to really call them, right? We work very, very well with them.
So you can have the world's best website though, but if you're not doing SEO and that's search engine optimization, which leads into our next point or job description that you have, that's not going to do you any good. Talk a little bit about SEO.
So there's two major categories of SEO. There's the organic ranking, which for some businesses is an option. And, that whole world of SEO is changing quickly thanks to AI. And then there's local SEO, right? There are certain industries that's important for. So if you have, for you, trade services for you guys, that local SEO is important, right? For the brand as a whole, yes, organic ranking is important, but it's not a priority, right? It's on our radar. We've built your website so that it is functional for that. It will work just fine. We don't have to do a lot of work on that, right? But that's not an ongoing thing we're looking at. We're monitoring it, but it's not a place that we're putting a lot of resources in. That will not always be the case, right? I predict in about a year, we're going to shift focus and really start focusing on that. It's my guess.
Yeah. But you need to make sure that all of our new locations are getting ranked.
Exactly. And so that falls under the local SEO. So you need to determine which category of search engine optimization do you need, right? So
yeah. You just touched on it briefly, but I wonder if you could go into a little bit about how AI is going to affect this.
It's part of it, right? So AI is an opportunity for small businesses to answer the questions of their customers, right? So in some ways, it's a leveling playing field. I have people who are concerned, it's going to kill your organic ranking. No, because again, it's one aspect of it, right? And you're going to have clients who adopt it and clients who don't adopt it, right? Like, great example, my brother hates it. He's like, I hate it. It never gives me the answer I want. I absolutely hate it. I always scroll past it. And you have other clients that do that. They rely on that heavily. And then there's ways to get your content in your business to be picked up by AI so that when folks are having a conversation with ChatGPT and asking it questions about what's the benefit of drywall repair, who's the best companies in Orlando or Boise or wherever they are, tell me more about this brand. Why should I choose them over another brand? Or, why should I choose this person over, the handyman? Can't they do the same thing? Right. If you've fed this content and it make sure it's accurate to AI, right? It use that to educate your
So is that
customers.
something that has to be fed to AI, or is it AI able to go out and scrub that off of the web?
Both. So there's two different ways you can do it. And I'm not an expert at all on this. So it might be smart to have an AI expert on again. I know we did a year ago, and that is changing rapidly. So I don't know if I would have to give up my job to go be an AI expert, and I don't want to do that. But I know enough to be relevant and to tell my business owners where they should be putting energy, right?
Well, we know that AI can be used multiple ways. Like, sure, writing content can be done, right? Or at least I like to use it when I'm writing something, but I don't know how to start it. I'm a better editor than creator, so sometimes that helps.
Yeah.
You can use AI for bots. I know when we had Heidi on a while back, she actually made us a bot for our website once, where it literally scrubs all the content from your website, and then people can ask questions.
Right.
And based on either our podcast, blog posts, content on the website, it would answer their questions for them, as well as like pre-qualified, leads.
And the value to the customer is they don't have to skim every page of your website to get their questions answered. They don't have to read every question on the FAQ. They can just ask your little bot.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah, and I've noticed that with some of the AI. It'll give you kind of the answer like in a first paragraph, and then right under it, it'll give you a summation of here's everything you're going to see in depth going forward, but here's the gist of it. Here's the cliff notes. That is handy.
Yeah.
And I do like it because I've trained my AI to know who I am and who Holeinthewall is. And so when I ask it a question, no matter what thread I'm in, it always circles right back to Holeinthewall. And so I train my AI bot to help us. And it's nice. People get afraid of it. They're like, "Oh no, it's like a lot of marketers are like, oh no, it's just going to rob us of all of our jobs."
No,
it's not. It's not going to do that.
I mean, is it going to take over the world? Probably, but I don't know. It's not yet.
It definitely is a tool that we can use. It enhances us for sure.
Yeah,
you know, I enjoy it.
Yeah. So the last thing you listed as part of your duties as a marketing manager, and congratulations on your promotion.
Thank you,
marketing manager, was email marketing.
Email marketing, yeah. It's one of the things we do. We tend to help a lot of B2B customers, although we've helped some e-commerce customers. There's a difference in frequency and messaging depending on, where you're at with your business to consumer or business to business, brand, right? So yeah, that's another thing we do. But we walk through hey, why are you sending your customer an email, right? Always ask yourself that question. Why am I sending this email? And if your answer is because I want business, ask it again, right? It needs to be, what is this email going to do for your customer, right? What's that value? And if you always ask yourself that before you send the email or as you're developing it, you have increased your chances of that customer opening the email and staying on your list, right?
Well, it's almost at half an hour. Can't believe it already. It's funny that there's just so much that's kind of out there, and you're kind of growing as we grow. I've seen you grow. I mean, we've been part of each other's orbit for a long, long time, and there's some definite differences though between a small business marketer. Like I would say, earlier in the franchising game, we had one of our franchisees decide to do their own marketing because we allowed them to in that current first agreement. And they had somebody that they knew that was good at social media marketing, and they just stopped using you, and they put all their eggs in that one basket. They were cheaper,
Right.
Only because they offered, only one of your many services. And then the brand content that they put out was very subpar.
Right.
And to the point that we actually had to make them take posts down because their posts weren't on brand.
Right.
And then their sales dropped, and their question, well, how come my sales are dropping? And then well, who's running your Google profile? Oh, I don't know. Who's doing your pay-per-click ads? Well, I don't know. How about your social media ads? Oh, we realized that they stopped using your services because they were unclear of the value you're bringing, and then they moved someplace else. And then, it was a $9,000 shift in 1 month.
Right. So, if you're hiring a marketing company or agency expert, whatever, and most of them are great, right? Always make sure the scope of work is apples to apples, right? If you're comparing pricing. And that always goes back to those discovery calls, right? Did this company spend a lot of time trying to figure out what is it that we want, right? What are we trying to make happen? Those conversations should be happening. If you're just getting sales I can make you $100,000 with all these clicks. I've had those conversations with people who've come to me and they're like, I've spent so much money the last 6 months and I got nothing, right? We fell for the sales pitch. Could be a couple of things, right? Maybe that company did exactly what they said. I don't know where the disconnect happened, but always make sure you're comparing apples and apples. Always look at the scope of work and ask question, what does that mean? Tell me more about this. That's a great question, right? Don't assume you know what they're talking about. And even if it's plain language, have a follow-up conversation with that marketing company about what that scope of work is and ask this question, tell me more about this. What's it really mean, right? Really proud of Jordan. A couple months ago, we sat down, we really fleshed out scope of work in regards to write some of these basic packages for customers. And he did a great job of, asking detailed questions and said, how is that different than this other one? And I walked him through a scope of work from another company, and I'm sure they're going to do exactly what they said they were going to do. But 70% of what they said they were going to do was redundant of the resources that we had already put in place for him, right? So,
yeah. So there's a really big difference, right, between how you market with a smaller company, and because you want to get every ounce of juice out of every dollar you spend.
Yes.
Versus the bigger,
right,
big gigantic companies.
Right. So I like to say, hey, highest and best use of every dollar, right? Just like real estate, right? Highest and best use of every dollar in marketing. That's the biggest difference between big brands and small brands, right? Is small brands, they have to utilize every single dollar as like an employee, right? Highest and best use of every dollar. And then understand that the objectives for a big company and the objectives for a small company are different. Their stakeholders are different. What they're trying to accomplish is different. Look at Coca-Cola, right? They want to be everywhere. They're not tracking direct sales ROI when they sponsor the Super Bowl. They're tracking eyeballs, right? They just want to be seen everywhere because they know if we're seen everywhere, the moment somebody makes a decision about buying a soda, who's in their face, right? So they know that that's how you win the game, right? And so that's been their objective. They also have different stakeholders, right? They've got board of directors, all that other stuff. Little tiny business, their stakeholder is their bank account, right? How do we make that? Not only I've simplified it, right? You want to make your customers happy,
sure,
right? You're building a brand, a legacy, and a reputation along the way, right? All that stuff. But your stakeholders is your bank account, your clients, first and foremost, right? That's who you're really working for, your customers.
Yeah. Somebody said 30 years ago to me when I was getting into business, and I think it still holds true, that effective marketing should be measurable. It's got to be effective and measurable. And
Absolutely.
And it's not like I'm going to do this and then 6 months down the road, I'm going to see it. You should be seeing results from effective marketing almost immediately.
And make sure you're measuring the right things at the right time, and that you're allowing your activities to have enough time to become effective. And don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Just because something didn't work as you defined it, maybe it just needs a tweak, right? So I tell people in marketing, everything is testing, right? I feel like a doctor. We're just practicing. Everything is practicing. And I can do one thing for the Orlando location and get completely different results than somewhere else, where it gets crazy.
Well, and it does take time to kind of let the system start the run, right? So they always say give it 60 days, right? Try something, give it 60 days, analyze it.
Right.
So, and I assume that part of your strategy is you're actually going through the analytics with your clients and such.
Yeah. And we're looking at analytics that I don't even share with my customers because it's TMI, it's too much information. They're going to get, it's like granularly looking through your 401k, thing every month. It's just crazy. But we're looking at those little tiny things and making adjustments. Like, for example, I'll be transparent. We're noticing in Orlando, you get a lot of clicks at like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning for your ads. I'm like,
that is interesting.
I'm questioning how many homeowners are really searching for drywall repair, 1 o'clock. So we're adjusting some time, right? Because I don't think those are real. I don't think that's a real target audience, right? I think there's something going on there. So we're going to shift when the ads run and make sure that we're protecting your ad spend, right? So that's just one example.
Yeah. Knowing when to add when the place an ad is as important as
how
the ad,
how many small businesses out there are running ads on their own, or are even going to look at that, even know to look at it, know where to find it, right? But those are the things we're looking at, right?
Yeah. So as a small business owner, if they were to come to you and say, "Listen, what's the best bang for the buck? I only got $500 to spend a month. Where should I be putting my dollars?"
Right. So I hate this answer, but it's the answer. It depends, right?
Yeah.
It depends on a lot of things, right? What industry are you in, right? Where you stage at? What else are you spending money on? What's the rest? What's your marketing current look like? What's your situation right now look like? For most people, social media ads is really good if you just need visibility, if you want branding, if you need leads, there's a different, we'll just have this full conversation. Maybe the answer is get your behind to a BNI group. Maybe it's get your behind to a chamber of commerce and you hit every networking event possible. That's the best use of your $500.
Yeah.
That may be the answer.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It is interesting.
Well, I'll tell you, it's definitely doable to have somebody in your company, even as an outsourced chief marketing officer like you. There's a lot of myths out there. I just can't afford it. I can't afford an accountant. I can't afford.
Sure.
And I think the right response is you can't afford not to.
Right.
You need to be looking at your brand consistently.
Right.
And as an owner, my time is valuable. Like you said earlier, your time is valuable. So every dollar I spend that I'm not having to do something, it's worth it.
Right. And it's okay to start small. Maybe you just start with some consultant. What should I be doing? Right. You have a marketing strategist, someone like myself or someone else that you trust, right? Who will sit down with you and go through the nuts and bolts. Maybe they sit down with you once a month for an hour and help you figure out what you should be doing. There's nothing wrong with DIY, but let's make sure your DIY efforts are effective.
Yeah, definitely would be an hour well spent.
Right, exactly. Right. For a few $100, you get a great game plan. You know what you're doing when you're doing it, right? So much more effective. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good. Well, Trish, we know you, we love you, and we know the value you bring. And we thank you for everything you've done for us and helping us build our brand. And I know you have so much more to offer other people. I'm a little, shy to do that because I want you all for myself. But as we grow, you're growing. Ourselves, right? Meaning hole in the wall. I just, it's nice that if I have a social event, I can ask you if you can come. You'll put on your hole in the wall shirt and go with us.
Yeah.
I love having you in the office with us. This way we can just pick each other's brain on a constant basis.
Yeah.
But for other people that are out there, to have somebody to talk to, I think is key. Even if they don't retain you for everything they do.
Sure.
But to have someone that they can talk through the process, it's worth having the conversation with you.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah. It's okay to schedule some marketing therapy sessions.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone wants to do that, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
So LinkedIn's great. You can find me there, Trish Murphy, pop up pretty easily. And then my email, Trish@MarketingSmartyPants. Don't call me. So
yeah. Awesome.
You can text me though, 863-899-3703. If you call me, it's not going to be a good, you better be giving me money. Lots of it. But you can text me.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming in and doing this with us. And thanks everyone for listening. Another really good show. We'd like to thank you for listening to the Holeinthewall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeinthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeinthewallfranchising.com.